Okay, well in this lecture we're going to use the lookup formula again, and this time we'll use it to look up a non-age related scaled score. This might seem like the simpler of the two, and indeed in some ways it is. So why I'm not teaching you this one first? Well, mainly because it only really makes sense once you've done an age-related score as we did in the first one. Bear with me, I'll show you what I mean. Here's we've got an example of the kind of lookup table, basically a simple lookup table that we often create in Excel to translate a raw score to a scaled score. And we're going to use more or less the same technique to generate a lookup table for our SIMS mark sheets to do the same job. So yes, again, I'm going to go to Focus, down to Assessment, and to lookup tables here. Here's the one we were looking at before, so I'm going to do a new one. I better call this something Demo Lookup Non-Age Related. And just as before, thinking about how this grid will be structured, the answer it's going to give me back isn't in a grade format. It's in an integer whole number format, 0 to 150 again, so this needs to be marked integer. And I'll skip age and come back to age in a minute. The scores will be the same. Let's imagine the scores are the same, 1 to 24 as they were in the previous example, stepping through from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in ones and ascending. Let's come back to age. We're going to set up one of these tables. Now, when SIMS put these tables together, the only scenario they envisaged was that we would only ever want to use these where age was a factor. But actually, these are really useful lookup tables to use where age is irrelevant. And indeed, perhaps these days, the majority of our examples are not related. The answers are not related. The results are not related to the pupil's age on the date of the test. But we still have to pretend, if you like, that the age is a part of the equation. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set up an age-related table that basically has got the same number of columns in as you saw before, but each column is exactly the same. So no matter what the age of the pupil, they're going to get exactly the same result. It takes a little bit more setting up, but if you use Excel, we can make it a lot quicker. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, okay, well, in this example, it's a primary school, and this particular formula is only going to be used in upper key stage 2. So I'm pretty sure that if I put a range of pupil dates in there from a certain age to a certain age, and let's just make sure the from dates and the to dates will always capture the ages of the pupils whose results I want to calculate. So we can err on the side of caution and say, well, we want to calculate pupils who are whatever it might be. Let's say anything from 7 years old to 12 years old. And I know that will capture everybody that I want to capture. Let's just make sure, put 2 zeros in there. I think it gets a bit finicky if we don't put 2 zeros in there. And sometimes as well, we need to put a leading 0 in there. There we go, 07 stroke 00 to 12 stroke 00. That's in years and months. And the default is that it will create a column for every 12-month interval. I'll just leave it like that for now. So the step in months is 12. So that means there'll be a column for everybody who's age 7 and upwards, a column for everybody who's age 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So I'll leave that as it stands. I'll not change that one. Okay, let's go down there and have a look at this box again. If you click the apply, what it will do is it will set up a basic grid for us to fill out. So there we go. There's our year groups there, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12 based on the values that I've put in this age section here. And there's the raw scores down the side. Well, you could, if you wanted to, tap the actual numbers that you want in to those columns one by one. But don't forget on this one, the column for the 7-year-olds will be exactly the same as the column for the 8-year-olds, exactly the same for the 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds. So we'll be here all day. So the quicker thing to do is to copy that basic table, and then go into Excel, and let's create a new tab on here, and let's paste that in. So Control V to paste. So this has put the basic one in there. And now all I need to do really is use the basic features of Excel to cut and paste and replicate cells and columns. I've already got these results here on this particular tab, so I should just be able to highlight these and Control C, go to my tab and Control V, like that, and just do that again. Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V, and Control V. So now I've got, very quickly, I've got the table generated, and I can just cut and paste the whole thing again, from there to there, Control C, go back into Sims, and paste it. Got the paste option there into there. It warns me that it's going to overwrite whatever's in the grid now, but that's fine. I can put that in there like that. So now I have a grid that has got the right answers in there, but it will give me the same answer no matter what the age of the pupil is, so long as they are at least 7 years old on the day of the test and not more than exactly 12 years old on the day of the test. If I save that now, I should be able to create a mark sheet just like we did on the other one. I'll not go through it, but it's exactly the same as we did at the end of the previous video. But that's the technique. There are other ways of doing it with Sims, but none of them, to me, are as efficient as that way. There are ways to do it with grade aspects and a formula called the marks to grade aspect, but that has more steps in it and is more long-winded and ultimately less flexible than this mechanism.